The Earley Show will begin after a brief word from today's sponsor, Answering Legal. Visit answeringlegal.com to learn more about our 24/7 virtual receptionist team.
I've been utilizing Answering Legal for my firm since 2015, and truth be told, it was a game changer for me. I can be anywhere, and I'm getting my phones answered by Answering Legal. A strategic partner, as I call Answering Legal, provides a great reward. What is that reward? It's time. Time for whatever I want to do. As a private practitioner, I would highly recommend Answering Legal to other private practitioners. Now, every call goes answered.
Hey everyone, my name is Nick Werker. I'm the marketing director here at Answering Legal. For a few years now, I've hosted Answering Legal's Everything Except the Law podcast, and I'm excited to share that Everything Except the Law is no longer our company's sole podcast. In fact, this summer and spring, we've been launching a number of new podcast shows through the Answering Legal podcast network. I'll be hopping on the debut episodes of all the new shows to help our audience get to know our new hosts a little bit more. And today I have the privilege of welcoming you to the debut episode of The Earley Show, which is the best name for the podcast ever, which will be hosted by Christopher Earley. Christopher, thank you so much for joining the Answering Legal podcast family.
Nick, thank you so much. I'm really excited to get going. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm lucky that I know so many people who could be good. I won't say lucky. I'll say fortunate that I know so many people who could be good hosts. And it's been really fun so far. So I'm happy to help you get launched. So before we do that, can you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us a little bit about your legal career and what also made you want to start sharing your expertise with your fellow attorneys?
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm just really excited to hopefully provide value to the listener. So I'm a personal injury attorney in Boston, not really practicing law so much as opposed to running a law business, and that's a personal injury practice downtown Boston. And I enjoy the business of law. I enjoy doing law better and differently than it's been done before, trying to innovate and find ways to sharpen my saw at all times so I can try to do things better. So I'm a geek at this stuff. I'm a nerd. I like to read the books and go to seminars and masterminds and learn how to do it better, right? Because at the end of the day, the business for me is a means to leverage my time so I can be present with my family. So that's the name of the game, right? Use the business as an instrument for the best life that I can create. So I'm here with my wife and kids as much as possible. So I, with this podcast, would aim to have inspirational guests, moving guests. We're going to have John Morgan. He's going to be our first guest. And I'm excited for that conversation. And so I'm always going to find people who I know will bring it, who have credibility, some gravitas, some knowledge, and they've been through a few battles and they're therefore, experts on the topic. So it won't be a boring podcast. It won't be mundane. It'll be, what I want it to be value packed and just different, inspiration, education, just trying to move the needle, help in my small way. If I can help move the needle in someone's practice, their life, well, that makes me feel pretty good. So super excited, man.
I'm excited too. I'm actually, I think I've been saying this a lot, but I'm like selfishly motivated to watch all of these shows that we're launching. But you've specifically helped me in a number of ways because we've had a few conversations on Everything Except the Law. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to highlight that you specifically taught me that I now implemented, because I won't say that I do, because it's a lot of things that I now don't do. Like I won't take unsolicited phone calls. I'm very, very purposeful with my calendar, which I think is annoying to my coworkers because they expect me to be so immediately available. And obviously, I have a boss. I have 2 people above me. So if they ask me for something, I sort of can't say no. But being that intentional with my time has allowed me to get so much more done than I was previously doing because I don't get pulled in so many directions anymore. And it's weird once you establish boundaries with vendors or customers or I don't know, whatever your specific role is when you're running a law firm. You have people that you outsource to or people that work for you. And once you're intentional with that time and you establish that boundary, you're able to do a lot more. So I I thank you for that, and I'm excited for what your vision for the show is. So can you sort of articulate to the audience what your vision for the show is?
Sure. If I was to put in one word, it would be inspirational. And I mean that legitimately because I bring to the show a certain story, a history that's a little bit novel and different from probably most lawyers out there. It will resonate with anyone who has been through challenge of some sort, specifically, any type of trauma. I come from a very dysfunctional environment, and that has been a blessing in my adult years in terms of being a good, father, husband, strong business owner, right? I just bring a certain element of realness, having seen, my father became homeless. He was very successful. He lost everything. I've seen addiction, right? I've seen terrible things, and so my goal is to share with the audience things that have made my life really good with a lot of work and effort and time and intention that I hope can give value to others. Because a lot of the stuff, you talk about time management, those aren't my concepts. I just stole them from somewhere else in some book or some lecture seminar. Like, this isn't my stuff. But like I said, I like to geek out on it and talk about it. So the stuff that you and I, Nick, have talked about before, I enjoy those conversations because you yourself said it helped you. I know it helped me, right? Control your time. Think of time like an investor would think of an asset, right? It's a depleting asset. Every day we have less and we have to maximize. So, we'll be getting into things that, inspiration, bit practice management, how to scale a practice, how to hire a smorgasbord of concepts, right? That I hope it offers practical. It's not some, hooey wooey, ethereal philosophical stuff. It's more like, all right, this is how I built my practice. This is how I market myself, my practice, so that this business runs without me, and that I can be a present husband and father for my kids. That's the name of the game for me. So again, I'm really excited to share my very, very small thimbleful of knowledge with the audience. But I only know so much. That's why I want to bring people onto the show that have been through the battles. They know about success. And so I'm excited to have those really robust conversations and give value to the audience each and every episode.
I trust that you're going to be able to do this because I think that you're on, or you're in really these internal conversations that people who run these firms are sort of having about managing their lives, and being able to participate in conversations with people like you and coaches. And I've had personal coaching sessions I find are so beneficial to my experience that I'm able to, I think of it like Kobe Bryant. Like, he pulled a little from this guy and he would learn this move from this other guy. And it's like, why would I want to develop my own thing? If I hear something good, I'm going to take it and use it as my own. But one of the things that I think is, I won't say comedic, but it's like everybody wants to know what are the common things that most attorneys are doing badly, or like have these bad habits that that you see are a trend that you can always try, or you can generalize and say, like, these are habits that attorneys do that they should break. It's something that we can cover in this show.
Yeah, I mean, we can really dive deep into things that move the needle: time management, delegation, hiring, like we said, right? I think it comes to the mindset. I mean, law. So you talk about school education versus real life education, right? I mean, they only teach you so much in school. Almost all the learning happens when you exit the campus or the wherever you were going to school, right? So for me, I'm excited to talk about things that are novel to a lot of lawyers. You talked about not taking unscheduled phone calls. That's almost sacrilegious to 95% of the bar, right? It's almost, how could you? How dare you? The audacity, right? Well, I've never heard anyone try it and not thrive on it, right? So it's just there's a lot of misery in the profession. There's depression, there's anxiety, there's suicide. It's a disproportionately upset profession. And so can't we do it better? I believe you can, right? With intention, with grit, hard work, discipline. look, I come from craziness, man. And so I had to, I'm a work in progress, right? Meditation helps me, journaling. So like, I'm not some, new jack on the block trying to, pontificate on what works in life. Like I'm a student, I'm going to be learning till the day I die. Right. But I think there's a way to answer your question, do law generally better than the way we do it now, right? Law school doesn't teach you how to run a business. It teaches you how to brief a case, how to argue a case. It doesn't teach you about the business side, about spreadsheets, about profit and loss statements, right? There'll be a lot of entrepreneurs listening to the podcast and some non-entrepreneurs too, but this stuff applies, this is universally applied to all, the entire bar, right? Managing your time, building culture, treating team members with a high level of respect. Just before we got on this show, Nick, I messaged everyone in my team individually. I said, thank you for all you do. Like, that stuff matters. I mean, to be honest with you, how many lawyers are really cognizant of how checking in, right? And showing appreciation. A lot of lawyers do it. Most don't. This is low hanging fruit that can make your practice better, no matter what kind of law you practice, what size firm you're in. There's a better way to do it. And I'm excited to, drill down into that deep and wide with the audience, and excited to just chop it up with the guests, and just super excited to bring it each and every episode.
So you said you're not a new kid on the block. I'm reading in my notes that you've been running your firm for almost 2 decades, right? And so my career only spans like 9 years, right? I started here on like month 5 or something like that. It was a startup. I joined very soon after when they were like, we need help. Come work here. We just had our 10-year anniversary party. It was a lot of fun. Awesome. We had the guy who owns the HVAC company next door. This is insane. He owns the HVAC company next door. He does our HVAC. We answer his phones. He has I don't even know what to call it. It's like a soul funk band he's in, and he sings. He's incredible. His band played. It was a lot of fun. All like old employees came back who haven't worked here in a while. And we were just talking about how it's this amazing accomplishment that we've all worked so hard to get this business to where it is for 10 years.
Sure.
And it's so underappreciated when you hear that a lawyer's been in private practice for 10 years, 20 years, even like 2 or 3 years. The fact that you're able to remain above water, be profitable, and have a good life is not a small accomplishment. So I want to ask you what some of the things that you've done throughout your career, like what have they allowed you to do to remain sustainable as far as like what you would describe as success in the legal world?
Well, I think it's a million little things, frankly. I started on the ground floor. I don't come from, there's no lawyer parent, there's no, affluence, right? So I literally had to start with nothing. And that, to back to law school, they don't really teach you about the nuts and bolts of running a business. So I had to learn sort of on the fly, and I've taken my licks, right? Lost money, made money, but learned a lot in the process. So, there's been so many lessons, Nick. A lot of people ask me, how do you get your cases, right? Well, there's a million things, right? Each day there's a million things. Like I'll produce something on LinkedIn at least once a day, right? Every single day. And, recently TikTok, right? Social media, writing for the ABA, writing for Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly, just writing content constantly, because Nick, for so long, I was practicing law, but I didn't like it. I got burned out, and I decided to grow business and remove myself. So the only reason why I have time to do things like, this conversation is because I have awesome people back at the office kicking butt for our clients. But it's not easy. You have to take on a lot of risk. There's sleepless nights. My wife can attest to that. It's been a journey. It's been a battle. It always will be, but that's part of the entrepreneurial journey. This wasn't supposed to be easy. You have to pay the price if you're going to be an element of freedom, right? You have to pay the price. But to me, that price is worth it. Again, there'll be a lot of people listening to the show that are self-employed and those that are not. My goal is to speak to both and to share that I do believe fundamentally you can be happy, you can make a good living, and not go, not be miserable in the process. You can, you can have this profession can afford you a lot of things. So you can extract a lot out of it if you step back. I get inspiration, Nick, from other industries. You talk about HVAC. My brother is an HVAC technician of like 35 years. You can look at other industries and take value. That's what we don't do in the law. We don't look at HVAC contractors or hairstylists, those businesses. Like, you can find great marketing ideas, management topics, hiring concepts. Like, you can steal these concepts from other industries. So that's what I figured out about 5 years ago. That's a good route that's worked out well. So we'll talk about that during the podcast, right? Let's expand the scope of our vision and look at how other professionals, whoever, right? There's a lot of ways to do things. So I don't think we're all that special as attorneys. We went to law school, passed the bar. I don't think that's so out there in terms of accomplishments. Yeah, we worked hard, but let's not lose sight of the fact that there's a lot of people succeeding out there, and we can take what they're doing and use it for our benefit as well.
So growing up, I have this grandmother, right? My dad's mom, and she has been in the business of running a law firm for, you know what? I feel bad aging her, but she's never going to watch this, for like over 50 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
She is so cool and smart, and like, she's taught me a lot too. So I remember growing up and thinking like, she works for a man named Paul. He runs the law firm, or he's the principal of the firm, I should say. And I would be like, oh, like, what, does Paul go to court? Does Paul do this? Does Paul do that? And she would say, no. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, Paul has a trial attorney. So he like goes over the cases and makes sure that this is working, and he's in the hire. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. He's the lawyer. He's supposed to be doing all of that. And it wasn't until I really started working here in this business that I realized that he had the right idea, that he realized a long time ago that he can't do everything himself. He has a guy who goes to trial. He has other firms that he refers cases out to. That's a source of revenue for him. He has, I don't know, like, I'm always talking to my grandmother because she uses the service. She calls me up and we talk, and she'll tell me, oh, I just hired this new person. They're doing a great job. It's my office manager. And everybody's got this role in this law firm. And to me, I couldn't believe it. And then one of the smartest things that anybody ever told me was that if I wanted to be a good manager and a good business person, that it was my job to make everything run so efficiently that I could legitimately remove myself from the equation, and everything would go on and work perfectly and everybody knows what to do. And I would say, but if I remove myself from the equation, I'm making myself obsolete, and then there's nothing for me to do. And that's never true. If you work in a business for long enough, you realize that you make yourself obsolete, and then there's something else that you need to go take care of and do. Usually on like a higher level, or overseeing, things that you've built that now sort of need somebody with your expertise to oversee. So for me, when I talk to somebody like you, that's the sort of thing that I think about, is that nobody's really told that, or like the evolution of business, right? So what would you say are some of the most important things that you've learned about, I'll say, like time management, or like really running a law firm or growing a business during your career?
And no matter what kind of lawyer you are, you need to bring in business. That's what we have to remember. We're nothing, we're not special here. We're in the service business. We provide legal services, right? It's like a raw material comes onto the conveyor belt at a manufacturer. They refine it and they make it into a nice shiny object at the end. Well, that's what we're doing with a raw legal problem. So let's not make it complicated. So how do you do that? Well, you got to get the clients in the door with the legal problem. So no matter what type of lawyer, we're going to get into that a lot during the podcast, right? Marketing, heavy, emphasis on that, because without clients, you're going to go bankrupt and lose everything. So you need business, right? You need capital. So, a lot of this is, we're going to talk about letting go. I mean, personally, when I'm obsolete to my law firm, that's the final frontier, is I'm irrelevant. That's hard. That's really hard. So, and that can be done. I know lawyers, it's very, in my orbit, very few are literally irrelevant. And that is true, CEO, captain of the ship, right? That's just clearly next level. But anyone listening to this can get there if that's what they want. But at the end of the day, whatever type of business law you're in, you have to make rain, you have to produce the clients. But, you know, to me, it comes down to three things: marketing, hiring, and the system/processes, right? So you gotta bring in the clients. You have to have kick butt, A player team members that can take care of the client. Because what do we want to do? We want to make them raving fans. That's reviews. That's referrals. Well, how do we get there? How do we make happy clients? Raving. We don't want happy. We want raving fans. Well, you have to provide a out of this world stellar experience that they've never seen in any other law firm. I liken it to the Ritz Carlton, right? Red, literally, like I want red carpet. I want them to be clients to be treated like rock stars because they are. Like they're trusting us with a really serious low point in their lives, and we take that super seriously. Um, you know, Again, marketing, hiring. When it comes to hiring, Nick, I like humble people. I come from total humble beginnings. There's no airs with me. There's no nothing fancy here. I'm a kind of a street lawyer, right? Running a practice. At the end of the day, I'm here to help people, right? Who can't advocate for themselves against insurance companies. So those are the three components. If you can figure that out, I'm sure Paul, the lawyer you just mentioned, has figured out probably all of that stuff. And that took him years and years and tears, pain to figure out. But there's a lot of topics to chop up, obviously. But it's going to be good, man.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I remember before I ended up not finishing school, I had said that I wanted to go to law school, and he called me up and he was like, "Hey, your grandmother told me you're thinking about doing this. I just wanted to let you know I'm always a resource to you." Really great guy, like who would do that,
Yeah.
And I think one of my favorite things, because you talked about like client experience. So
Yeah.
I've recently, I would say in the last few years, got really deep into paid advertisements or like sponsoring content on social media, YouTube, all that. And what we do is we create these real customer testimonials from real lawyers who agree to let us send a film crew to them. And we work with them to do like pre-production, make sure that we're not taking too much of their time. And seriously, my favorite reaction is, and I don't hide these comments because I think they're so funny and so valuable to me, is when people call me out and say that the person in the video is a fake lawyer and that people commenting on it saying like, "I use this service too. I love it. It's so this, it's that." The person who works here, and people will write, "You're a bot, you're a fake comment." Somebody, this is a ghost account. Somebody from the business wrote this. I love that accusation because that's what we're trying to create. I'm trying to create somebody who loves my company so much that they sound like a lunatic when they're talking about how good we are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And here's why I want that is the easiest thing in the world to sell is a good product.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing in the world to sell is a bad product. How am I going to sell you on something
Right.
that I don't have any faith in, that I can't back up, that I don't have testimonials for? Like it just makes my life easy. So I give a lot of credit to all the people that work here who make our customers' lives better, who have problems and they get them solved. But I do want to talk about how you go about creating that experience, right? So I think we throw around a lot of buzzwords. In recent years, the word to describe it has been like customer-centric law firms, right?
Mm-hmm.
To create a customer-centric law firm.
Mm-hmm.
How can lawyers strive to create this environment where their customers love them, but also, I don't want to say like manage their time, but also like have this personal life? Like how do you save time for yourself, but also keep your customers super happy? Because I think when lawyers hear a new task, they think, I have to work harder to achieve this goal. How do we get there?
Yeah, I think you have to work less because that's more efficient to do it that way. So I think the way you get there is Depending on if you're a sole practitioner or you work in a firm with 126 lawyers, it's about culture. I think culture influences everything you do: the hiring, the firing, the onboarding, the marketing, the meetings, the conversations. Everything is, to me, culture. So when I hire the right people, I don't get it right. That's probably 50-50, right? Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't, right? No matter how careful you are, you're always going to have some foul balls. But when you do connect, that's how you get a raving fan, is that team member is picking up what you're putting down in terms of culture, core values. They believe in service, empathy. So we have 5 core values, right? And I don't want any team members on the bus that don't subscribe to all of those zealously and strongly. So the way we treat each other is the way it's going to permeate down to the clients. So that's why I just talked about sending a random message to all my team members. Thanks for doing a good job. You are appreciated. Just send it to people in the Philippines, Mexico, Boston, throughout, right? In terms of our ecosystem. So, because without them, my family, we don't get our bills paid. So I'm truly, just because I pay them doesn't mean I should presume anything, right? I appreciate them. So I show them the love and they show it to the clients. And there's a lot of things within that. The client service, automation, communication. I believe in over communication. We ask clients, do you prefer texting, email, phone calls? What do you prefer, right? Because if you went to the Ritz-Carlton, right, we talk about the red carpet, they would want to make your experience white glove from start to finish, right? And you talked before, Nick, about, paid social. That engagement, you got that sort of negative engagement. I love that stuff because that just helped me with the algorithm. So that's a good thing. I'm like, oh, thank you, for the engagement. Bye-bye. And that's smart because as well, there's social proof. What you say about you is one thing. What other people say about you is gold. And I love your word, lunatics. Yeah, raving fans, lunatics. We're just like, this guy, Nick, answering legal. Man, you're not going to go anywhere else. You're never going to get this. Go to them. They're going to come to you. There's no selling on your part, right? We're talking about a lot of topics, but at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. Treat people well, your team members, your clients. You don't have to work crazy hours. You can make good money and leverage these things to your advantage. Automation, technology. It's not hard. It's really hard, but it's simple, right?
My wife and I have this saying. It's so funny when you're married to somebody, or you've been with somebody for a long time. I guess it doesn't really matter what label you put on it.
Sure.
We have this saying: it costs $0 to be nice to someone.
Yes.
And she'll do a good thing or I do a good thing, and I'll just look at her side eye and be like, it costs $0 to be nice to somebody. It's almost like annoying to each other at this point.
Yep.
But it goes a long way. People are not used to you being kind, right? So right. Just treating people well is it's kind of silly, but treating people well is like the number one thing that you can do.
Yes.
I'm not a perfect business. I read, and I don't claim to be perfect, right? If you sit at my computer now, I don't work in the support department. I don't work in sales. I get a lot of things forwarded to me, but I bet you I don't even see 70% of the complaints or the problems that come in.
Sure.
But those complaints get addressed because we don't say nope, it's your fault. No, we're not taking responsibility for that. No, you can't have your money. No, we work to make it right. We employ hundreds of people who answer the phones. There's bound to be somebody who's having a bad day, who
Sure.
didn't handle your phone call right. It'll never happen 100% of the time. And anybody who works in this industry who tells you that we can get it right 100% of the time is full of crap.
Yep. No question.
But I have such faith in the people who work here, right? They're humble, they're cooperative, and it really boils down to ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
The owners know that we're going to make mistakes, so it's important to treat people with respect in terms of billing, in terms of availability, if you call up and you have a serious problem, the owner of this company will get on the phone with you and make it right. It's kind of nuts. Right? I'll walk into his office, he'll ping me, or we have a meeting, and he'll be like, oh, hold on. And I'll listen to the phone call, and I'm like, that guy, it's like a tiny law firm. They have this problem. They're super worried about it. And he treats it as if it's the most important thing going on in the universe. And I'm lucky that I have a mentor like that. But when you talk about treating people well, it's just, to me, it's so funny because people are so shocked when you treat them well that I don't know. That's my saying in life. It costs nothing to be nice.
No, it's so easy, and lawyers can be kind of, sometimes we can be a little bit of a nasty lot, right? And take, nasty to each other, right? Nasty to clients. There's no need for that. You talk about ownership. If you can get people in your firm or your business to own their job, then you're not the only owner. You're not the only. Everyone's invested, literally, right? So it's almost like extreme ownership. Everyone is bought in. But I love complaints because that tells me of a problem. Because they say, one happy client may tell like 4 or 5 people, an unhappy one tell 85 people or whatever, right? So we send out surveys throughout the case. Hey, John Smith, how are we doing? It's kind of like a net promoter score, right? Trying to tease out the experience. Most people say, oh, it's fine. I love people say, hey, Chris, this was not a good experience. Then I'm like, talk to me. What can we do? I want to hear it, but they have to feel comfortable. So, have them sit down in my office and we just sit down and I sit back so they're relaxed. There's no intimidation. It's like man to man or just, me talking to a client, whoever it is, right? Whatever. We're just getting real with each other. And that is what you want, right? You want criticism. That's how you get better. Crave that. I do. And it really helps you out tremendously.
I do like I like when people write something, and I used to be in charge of this. This used to be one of my responsibilities, was if somebody wrote a bad review, I was the guy who would call you and try to make it right.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of valuable lessons on the phone with people trying to address their concerns or I don't know, like smooth over a problem that they had with, like these are personal problems. So this guy yelled at me and this guy said this on the phone and this salesman, he hung up on me. And you tried your best to do right by the customer at the end of the day. Not that the customer is always right, because, there are people out there who are never going to be happy and you're never going to make them happy. And you can cut your losses and say, thank God that they're not, on my books anymore and causing harm. But there's a lot of lessons that you can glean from like real customer feedback and real complaints.
Oh, 100%. That to me is how you engineer the business forward, no matter what kind of business you're in, right? But yeah, those, I don't know, you talk about calling former customers, whoever, who were upset. 9 times out of 10, you can turn them around because you took the time. Now, there's always going to be the client or customer, like you said, never going to be happy. Hey, we did the best we could, right? Now, I do believe the customer is always right, even if we have it. And I preach that to my team, right? If there's an issue, if the client is upset, even if they don't have a reason to be upset, it doesn't matter. They're upset. You got to turn it around, because then they're going to put us blasts on social media, on reviews. We got to stem the tide, right? And just because they will appreciate you picking up the phone, just talking to them person to person, and they will likely. I don't even ask them. I've had them go back to that review and change it, because I don't believe in saying, hey, would you go in? But I will mention the review. Hey, I saw your review. Could we talk about that? Where do we fall short? Could you help us? Because this is going to help future clients, because people generally want to help in some way. It provides people with meaning, a little bit of purpose. It's a bigger picture than just this one case. It's about future cases. I think that matters to people, right? It's customer service. That's what the HVAC business, the law business. It's customer service, treating people nicely, like you said, kindly. It's super simple. And the sad thing is, it really stands out because it's not common enough.
I have a funny story about that. So, in my early days, when we really had nothing to do because we weren't that big, I got this. I would send out review requests from customers, new onboarded customers, and one of them stuck out to me, and I remember thinking like, oh, I know this name. And he and his firm had reviewed us as 4 stars. But what he wrote in the review was like that lunatic that you're looking for. And I'm like, oh, 4 stars. And then it dawned on me that when I was in high school, I worked, I had like this crazy internship. I'm a crazy person. I like to do things and work. And like I said, I wanted to go to law school and be involved in politics. And that was my original major when I went to school, was I interned for one of the, I think it was like county executive, right? It was this big election that I worked my way up through the ranks in these interns. And one of the things that I did was I took this guy running for town council, canvassing in my 98 Toyota Camry back in 2011 or something like that. We drove around. He would tell me all about his experience working in the law and town council. And we would knock on doors and people would throw us out or they would take our information. And I spent like a couple of days with this guy. And this is the lawyer writing the review. So I'm like, I'm the perfect person to call up this guy and talk about. He was telling me about his son. He threw a party and he wouldn't. So I call him up and I ask him, you wrote all these great things. Did you mean to click 4 stars? And he said, yeah, I did. I said, oh, can you tell me why? And he's like, well, I got to tell you, I don't give anybody 5 stars. Like, I think you guys are great. So like 4 stars is the highest that I'll do. And I'll tell you, like, God could come down here right now and ask me how good of a job he's doing, rate him out of 5 stars, and I'll give him 4 stars. So that was one of those things I learned is like, just be happy with what you get. Like the words were good. He was happy, right? So if the customer was happy, it was more important than my like 5th star on a review. And it was one of those things that I had to learn was like, it doesn't matter that much anyway. The actual feedback from the customer is much more important than like a little 5th icon on the screen.
100%. That's what matters, what people say, right? And a lot of lawyers, you got to be careful, right? If you get a bad review, you got to be careful what you say in that review because you're writing to future clients that are reading that, right? That's the audience, right? Because that review is probably set in stone unless you can get it moved. But be careful. Lawyers can get into trouble by getting into confidential matters and bashing someone online. Like, so just be really sensitive. All the lawyers, you got to be careful when you respond to negative reviews, right? You have to be ethical, but you also are speaking to future clients, so they'll see how you handle that situation. Going back, Nick, for a second to customer service, team members have to be trained on how to handle upset clients. I've had situations where team members were not properly trained; they couldn't handle a client who got hot. You have to focus on that. Call center, phone calls, people are going to get hot all the time. So we got to get ahead of that, right? But you can only train people; so they can only do what they can do. It's like you can't control. If the caller talking to your team member is just out of control, what are they going to do about that? Right? There's a certain level. I encourage my team, if there's someone who's being abusive, if someone's being, beyond the pale, hang up the phone. Yes. Terminate the phone call. We're not taking that. What does that look like to me? If I'm like, just stay on the phone. They have a really good case. Let's just weather the storm. I have no credibility with my team because it's not about the clients. It's about the team members, right? And always maintaining that even keel. This goes back to culture, core values. This is how we handle everything. There's never any like fluctuations in that. Steady. And that to me is super simple, really. It just makes this complex beast of operating a law firm that much easier. Focus on the client, the betterment of the client. You're focusing on the betterment of the client. All good things happen.
I could talk to you all day, but we're going to wrap up today with some rapid fire questions. I'm going to try and go fast because I every time I do this, I'm sorry. Every time I do this, I don't ask them quick enough. So we're going to go rapid fire here.
Let's do it.
What's your favorite go-to late night snack?
Probably Cool Ranch Doritos. I mean, who doesn't love those, right? I'm a carbaholic.
Fire. What's your favorite leisure activity?
I enjoy drumming and running. Those are kind of like 50-50.
Drummer. We should start a band.
I'm
not that far.
You don't want to play I'm bad.
We could be bad together. Nirvana, that was their thing. They're bad together.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about being a lawyer?
That I can spend time with my family, that the profession affords me that I call it a luxury, right? To be able to be a present father, present spouse, is not glued to his phone at night. I'm present for my family, go to baseball games, recitals, go to dinner with my wife. You can do those things, right? That's what I enjoy and appreciate.
Got to date your wife.
Yes.
What's the last TV show you binged?
Breaking Bad was a few years back. Honestly, I'm so busy. I don't watch TV a lot. As I get older, I watch less and less.
Suits is back out on Netflix, and like as if I don't do this enough during the day, I got to watch Suits at night. What a sicko. What common lawyer mistake frustrates you the most?
not choosing to be happy, not, it's a choice, right? Your mindset, not choosing a better path. You don't have to be miserable. You can be happy and be a lawyer. So I don't really love when I see lawyers not trying to do better for themselves and their families.
What's the last concert you went to?
This is like a long time ago. You ever hear of Tesla? The band Tesla?
No.
1991, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My ears were ringing for days. I haven't been to a lot of concerts in my lifetime, to be honest with you. But after that, I think I got PTSD from hearing diminishment.
You gotta go to a concert, man.
I know.
What are you doing? What was the last concert I went to? What did I go to recently?
Wasn't Tesla.
I think the last concert I went to, this is going to sound funny, was Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Nice. Cool.
At Jones Beach Theater.
Good job.
with a bunch of mic. It was the loudest. So apparently they're known for this. Apparently they're known for going way beyond what like normal speakers should allow as far as volume. So we all had earplugs in, and they played Freebird as like their encore. And I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to Freebird without the earplugs. And it was a terrible idea.
Really?
It was so incredibly, unbelievably loud.
Oh my God.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're nuts.
They're not messing around. And they're not young guys. So that's really impressive.
I hate to say this, but they're all so old that there's like one original guy left. Like a bunch of them have died. That's how old they are.
They've been around forever. Well, maybe to them it's not that loud. I don't know. I mean,
that's what I said. I was like, yeah, they probably need it that loud now because they're old and they've damaged their hearing so bad.
Totally. 100%.
Look, I told you this was supposed to be rapid fire. I'm so bad at this. Why should lawyers take the time to listen to your new podcast?
Because it's going to teach you something each and every episode. We're going to bring content that's going to teach. And if it does, I'm not doing my job. So I take that seriously. So I'm definitely going to bring good stuff each and every time with the guests and their knowledge. And it's going to be really good.
Well, I'm excited. And that's all for this episode of The Earley Show. Christopher is taking over the hosting duties from here on out, so I don't have to do it. I won't be here. But I know I'll be watching, and you can follow along with all the new episodes, too, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. For more information about our podcast network, visit answeringlegal.com. And we hope to see you next time, everyone.